Welcome to Breakfast Central on a Wednesday morning. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning to you wherever you're watching us from, whether you're in Cameroon, Iran, United States of America. I'm not trying to be like Benga, by the way. So no, I'm just trying to welcome everyone. I'm trying to welcome everybody. You understand? That's what I'm trying to do. But by the way, thank you so much for joining us. It's a Wednesday morning, and guess what? The stories are indeed ready. Everyone is set, and we are good to go. But I just want to ask one question. Hope you are coping with the fuel prices and the livelihood, especially living in turbulent times. But that will be a conversation that we'll have later on in the course of the program. But I'm happy and excited to be here, and I hope you are excited as well to be here with us. My name is Joe Hansen. Good morning. And
my name is Olive Emodi. Good morning and welcome to the show. For the next 3 hours, we're taking you around Nigeria, looking at some of the biggest stories. A lot has happened in reaction to the criticism leveled against the Minister of the FCT. He's granted another press conference, and we'll be probably looking into that as well. And wake-up conversation this morning is quite interesting. Bittersweet, really, but there's some people that need a lashing, and this morning they will get it. You're welcome to Breakfast Central.
Hello, welcome to the program, wherever you're watching, from Slovenia to Bulgaria to Tanzania to Tunisia. This is the right place to start your day right. Quite a lot of things are happening. Some good news, yes. Yesterday, unprecedented, and President Donald Trump tweeted that a whole civilization will die tonight and never recover. But it led to a lot of comments, and people wondered if, the U.S. president actually knew the implications of what he was saying. But we woke up this morning to some good news. There will be a 2-week ceasefire. Hopefully, that will bring some relief in the price of Brent crude oil, because it went to its highest level since the 2008 financial crisis yesterday. You know the global effects of all of this. So we're praying that, there's some relief for people all over the world that are feeling the pinch of paying high gas prices with its resultant effect in the economy. We'll have so many things to discuss today on the show. So you've made a right decision this morning by tuning into News Central. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program.
Absolutely. A lot has happened, Benga. Yesterday, if you missed it, just in case you missed it, we had an exclusive interview with the ADC spokesperson, a former Minister of Sports, talking about Dr. Balaji Abdullahi. A lot was said about the current ADC, and part of the conversations we had was, and I think it's also good for context and clarity, that people should understand. I mean, I did buy into that clarification. You can't really call someone a factional party, because they are not recognized by INEC as a faction.
Yeah, they don't have the instruments of office.
They don't have no instruments of office. Yeah. They don't have a secretary. They don't have a national chairman. They don't have all of that. However, just yesterday again, another group came out to lay claim as an ADC, as a party owner. Another group came out yesterday. Now, the funny thing about this group...
It's borderline ridiculous at this point.
It's ridiculous. Another thing that happened, the funny thing about this group is that one Obina, Don Norman, said the party belongs to him, that he was a bona fide member of the party. And trust Nigerians. You see, I keep saying it, we're the smartest, we're one of the smartest humans, if I want to put it that way, whichever way context you want to take it. They went ahead and dug up, past information that this same guy who came out from nowhere is a wanted fellow.
Wow.
He's a wanted fellow. So people were saying, oh, finally, they've been looking to arrest you. Your image has been on a wanted, you've been on a wanted list by the police and so on. And you had the audacity to come out and say, listen.
Yeah, it's your party.
So they said, okay, hey, police, you now have him. Go get him. And it's so sickening. The audacity. Whether you like it or not, as we start off wake-up conversations this morning, and we'd like you to drop your comments. Our YouTube head mistress, what do you call that guy?
Our Director of YouTube Affairs.
Of YouTube Affairs.
Yes.
Olive, take your 5, man. You are wonderful.
I mean, on YouTube, I see
fantastic.
there's a comment here.
Already?
Okay, Moko Chukwemeka is back. It's good to have you back.
No, he was back yesterday, actually.
Yes, and he says, good morning, Benga and Joe. He separated the greetings. Then he now left Olive in her own world alone. Then put good morning, Olive. That's not nice.
As the queen of the show.
That's discrimination.
Bro, that's not bro code, bro.
Then will you now faint if you see Prince Ajibade's comment?
Bro, take it easy.
He's a man now. I don't expect if Prince Ajibade should compliment me this way, I will be looking over my shoulder. I will not be comfortable. So please, you can take that compliment.
Thank you very much, Prince Ajibade.
I'm not dragging it with you.
And thank you to our YouTube audience. You know, it's always a pleasure to start the show with you every morning. Let's get into the first story. George, you want to take us through it? Because I believe that this is, you're very, very, it's your constituency.
What do you mean by it's my constituency?
Exactly.
I really don't understand.
Please, let them not go and use figure of speech on my brother.
Please don't use figure of speech on me, please.
This is before, you know why I said that? Because both of you, I remember when I went to Abuja, any small thing, you in particular, you kept teasing me about going to Abuja. So please, I stay back from Abuja. Go ahead.
Did you see this day when you went to Abuja?
You started again.
Story.
You started.
Can we get into the news,
Okay, let's go into our wake-up conversations this morning. Don't forget, we are actually streaming live, so you can also drop a comment or two based on what you think or have to say about big stories. A windstorm on Tuesday has damaged parts of the newly built Kubwa Bus Terminal in Yaya, Abuja, along with nearby buildings and the Yaya pedestrian bridge. The terminal is among several completed transport projects in the FCT that are still awaiting operational approval from the Federal Executive Council. FCTA Minister Nyesom Wike explained that terminals in Kubwa, Mabushi, and the Central Business District are ready but require formal clearance to ensure proper management and structure. At the inauguration of similar facilities, President Bala Tinubu said these terminals are designed to provide a secure, well-regulated environment for commuters and reduce reliance on unregulated pickup points. But we are told clearly that this particular one, which actually, was damaged yesterday by a windstorm, commissioned, but yet Nigerians wonder how much was spent on it.
51 billion.
There are rumors that it was 51 billion. We've seen 30 billion. But whether it is even 5 billion, how come it never stood the test of time and the winds decided to tell it goodbye?
I mean, we're even lucky that there was no loss of life because you can see the debris there on the highway. It could have caused serious accidents to motorists and also pedestrians. And you begin to wonder the company that was issued this project, the sort of materials they use, and if it passed all sorts of standard tests. Because, I mean, it's a windstorm. In Nigeria, we don't have hurricanes. So imagine if you're, look at the damage to that poor person's car, just going on a storm.
He's going to get a brand new car.
Somebody used inferior materials. You have to pay for it. It's really, really sad.
I think you're already clarifying what the issue was. You said inferior materials.
Yes, I mean, look at it like...
but Benga, we've not...
Like it was bombed out.
Anyway, Liri Olayinka, the SA to the FCT minister, put out a press release. Let's see if we can get
great. It'll
that
be
press
nice
release
to hear
as well. In that press release, we hear that there was a clear explanation. So he said, windstorm has damaged some parts of the Kubwa Bus Terminal in Abuja. The windstorm, which occurred during a heavy rainfall a few hours ago, also caused a minor damage to the Yaya pedestrian bridge and some buildings in the area. From preliminary reports, no one was injured and no vehicle was damaged.
So that damage we saw in that vehicle.
If vehicles were damaged.
Yeah.
To prevent breakdown of law and order as well as free flow of traffic, the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, has directed security men be deployed to the scene, while immediate action will be taken towards fixing the damages caused by the windstorm.
Okay.
End of statement.
Windstorm damaged some parts of the
All right, so there are many areas to look at when you think about this story. So the first thing you think about is the fact that the money allocated to the building of the stream was taxpayers' money. We hear that it's 51 billion that was allocated to 3 terminals, and this is one terminal. And with the amount of money that was allocated to build this one terminal, so all it took was one afternoon of rainfall to demolish this terminal. That's one. Two, again, speaking to the structure of the terminal, they've said that the repairs will be conducted. Repairs to what standard? The same standard that was pulled down even before it took off. Bear in mind that this project was completed. They had gotten approval, waiting for it to be officially open. So it was not yet even open to the public. The timeline between when the project was completed and when it was open to the public was another thing. Like in those months, what was happening? You know, why was it not yet, why could people not yet start to use it? But now we see that we're thankful that people hadn't started using it, because you imagine the amount of damage it would have done if people were using the terminal at the point where this rain fell. Nyesom Wike administration, particularly as Minister of the FCT, has been credited with a lot of infrastructural changes. There have been infrastructural developments. Now the question is, does this again speak to the standard of the quality of the infrastructural projects that are being set up in the FCT? Does this reflect the quality that has been affected? Another thing to look at is scavengers. Reports have it that as soon as this was happening, scavengers were on ground to pick up the debris and go to sell. And that's something that we struggled with. Again, does this mean that...
Iron condemn.
Exactly, iron condemn. Does this mean that for a structure like this that hasn't even been open to the public yet, that they didn't have enough security to be able to man the premises such that scavengers had access to it? So who is going to replace all the materials that the scavengers picked? Where's the money coming from? Is this, again, taxpayers' money? So I think that these are the questions that easily come to mind when you hear about this. It's a structural, infrastructural quality control check that needs to be done. Not just for this at this point, but for the other terminals and the other infrastructure that will be coming up. Because the truth is, rains will fall. As climate change effects kick in, we will see worse and worse conditions of rainfall, storms. Is this what's going to happen every time there's a rain? It's bad enough that we have power taking when rain falls, and that sometimes the connection to certain, I don't want to call names, but like phone lines and TV gets disconnected when it rains.
The phones are still fair.
Phones are still fair.
It's electricity that is always the first. Like they've been waiting for this excuse to take the lights.
Exactly. So it's a concern. What will happen and what does this mean for the quality of the others? We'll take reactions on social media. But before we do, I just need to mention again that for those who want to share their thoughts about the story, if you were in Abuja, or if you were there, around there, or you saw it firsthand, or even if you just have thoughts about it, we're streaming live on YouTube, News Central TV Live. Please search there and drop a comment. Finger.
Okay, just to fact check that press release by Mr. Larry Lanka, we did obviously see the damage that was done to that vehicle there. And also, I don't think this is what you repair. It's not cosmetic repair. You have to do an integrity test, the engineers, because the damage is quite extensive to the structure. And I was wondering why that was the only structure that was damaged in the windstorm in the area. It goes to show, again, the quality of materials used and the standard of the project, because you begin to wonder if that windstorm was an opposition windstorm, because it was specific to that park. It didn't affect other structures. So you are laughing. You might begin to wonder if it was opposition structure, and also the cost, because a lot of the cost of projects in,
I think that's
in
the
the
major
Wike
administration in all of this,
is
the cost.
beyond. I don't think naira has depreciated to. I have an understanding of what a billion is. It hasn't depreciated to that level that will just be throwing and banding billions around. Mr. Nyesom Wike did embark on a renovation project of the International Conference Center last year at a cost of 39 billion. And when critics raised the alarm, they said they lack taste. My critics lack taste because they're used to cheap things. That's why they're making all this noise.
This one now?
So this one that you spent 51 billion 51. And you have taste.
So
what happened?
It's not necessarily, just so we are clear, it's not 51 billion for this structure alone.
For
all. But the truth is, regardless of how much it costs,
quite expensive.
Even if it costs 1 million naira, it is still taxpayers' money. And when taxpayers' money come into the conversation, there should be accountability to say, this is how we spent your money, and this is the result that we got. So, regardless of how much was spent,
I really feel
it is
for the
taxpayers' money.
contractor, because he's going to be in the eye of the storm, and they'll say, look at the work you did for us. Just a little windstorm, not even a tornado or hurricane, and everywhere don't scatter.
Everywhere scatter. Okay, let's take reactions on YouTube, and then we'll take on X before we head to our next story. On YouTube, Prince Ajibade says, it's obvious that the materials used were inferior. We lack accountability in the country, and this is largely because we, the citizens, are docile. 30 billion naira to build that thing. I live in Abuja. Prince Ajibade says, Nyesom Wike should be arrested for building substandard bus terminals, the same way he has ordered the arrest of the man whose hotel collapsed in Karu, Abuja, Michael says. And Mokunye Chukwuemeka says, it's not a repair thing. That's a total new work. And another budget for it. They also said the opposition cost it. Scavengers have made money.
What can you patch there?
What can you really patch? Mr. Johnson says, good morning to you all. To me, if a structure of this kind can be pulled down by wind, then you don't have to be told that some of the governors in Comedian Chike that critique Comedian is not funny. I'm not quite sure I got this one. Oh, okay. We'll save the best for last. Okay, I'll come to that. But let's now head to X and see what the tweets are saying. Our first tweet on X this morning regarding the story. Wait, this is a brand new Kubu terminal they commissioned last year. 51 billion and one windstorm rips the roof off like it's made of tissue paper. Pure substandard rubbish. How do they keep wasting our money and still sleep at night? Dr. Constant asks.
Okay.
Shame on Nigerian politicians. Shame on Nigerian building contractors. A similar incident occurred at the Holy Ghost terminal built by Governor Peter Mba. Is it that we are cursed as a people or what? Why must there be mago-mago in the execution of public infrastructures that are funded by taxpayers' money? Why should substandard materials be used for execution of projects such as this? What kind of national disgrace is this? You
know, there's a lot of lobbying for contracts, and maybe they give somebody that is selling here on WhatsApp engineering contract that doesn't have experience in it. Just maybe. We're in the era of speculation since they've not come to tell us what happened, Gongo.
They haven't come to tell us.
They just put a press release that it didn't destroy anything.
Maybe it's a WhatsApp shoe vendor that they gave engineering contracts.
Very funny.
But that's what we don't know. But to put everything in context, I think we should just be thankful that no lives were lost. I think that's the most important conversation we're having here. And it's a good thing that the minister would want to look back and at the same time also be thankful that there were no lives lost. Because if you look at it, whichever way you look at it, yes, we wait for, again, who's going to hold the minister accountable? Who's going to hold him accountable? In a country where things go wrong, I mean, the FCT minister is not the only one. Remember the situation that happened in Benin, where the people of Benin City were angry. They were building roads. And while they were building the roads, some residents in that area decided to go to the roads, and they were using their hands to remove the blocks. It was like cake, and they were like, look at what they are doing.
Oh, yeah, the inferior quality of the...
Look at what they are building.
I remember.
And this road cost XYZ amount of millions to construct. So one would ordinarily wonder, the corruption we see today is far-fetched. It's far beyond just talking. It has gone deeper. But for me, just to finalize my conversation, it's the end that really justifies every single thing. Because, let me state this, for those who always find a way to navigate issues, massage the problems, take more money from construction work, let them not forget that it is the people that would suffer it. Because imagine if this was actually was being used and you had people on that terminal.
All right.
This morning would have been a sad story.
It would have been a sad story.
Counting the numbers of those who had lost their lives. And
honestly, you said it well. The silver lining here is that no lives were lost. But we need to move to our next story so that we can see how much we can cover this morning. And this one is one that has set social media ablaze with reactions that are purely angry. Last week, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Anyway, social media relationship coach or self-acclaimed relationship coach, Blessing Okoro, popularly known as Blessing CEO, came out to claim that she had cancer. I mean, she put a video saying stage 4 with a shaved head, a very emotional video that, warranted sympathy from people. And now these cancer claims are now under intense scrutiny. Now, what began as public sympathy quickly turned to outrage after she reportedly solicited support and claimed to have received about 13 million naira, an appeal now widely described as cruise amid allegations that the medical report she shared was forged. The situation escalated as the Nigerian Medical Association and the Nigerian Cancer Society refuted the claim, stating that the results she shared belongs to another patient and was misused, further fueling concerns over misinformation, public trust, and the trivialization of sensitive health issues. Let's listen to Blessing.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. If I show you the results, can you interpret it? You will not go school. I'm asking you now, show me one cancer patient that you know that came and pasted her results on social media for you to be reading to prove that she has cancer. I'm asking you now. One, just one. Because I came out and said, okay, lovers, help me. You will not contribute 1 naira, they shout, Shingba, you not give me. Most of you that are making noise did not bring 1 kobo. So the truth about it is, lovers, a lot of people that are commenting are ignorant about cancer. Very ignorant. There is nothing I am going to say about cancer that, in fact, the people who even understand this are people who have got.
I am the very lady that Okoro Blessing Okoro, also known as Blessing CEO, doctored my results. Here is my story. Sometime last year, she was in Asaba for a doctoral shoot, which I happen to be the makeup artist.
Hey guys, it's Zazie Beauty. Film the makeup, we're not done yet. If I let me show you this Zazie, let me show you this CEO. So this is Zazie Beauty. See how pretty she is.
Fast forward to last 2 weeks, or last week thereabouts, when she started flagging on her social media that she's having stage 4 cancer, crying, wailing, that she's selling up her house, putting up her things for auctioning and all that, you know. On Wednesday last week, 25th of March, my good friend and my sister called her to check up on her. The phone was on loudspeaker. So from there, my friend was like, that you have to put up yourself together, you know, that okay, or are you hear from Zazie because you know Zazie's story. That was how I started talking to her, encouraging her, telling her that she should gather herself. That is not even a social media thing at all. That she should gather herself. I started praying for her, cursing the spirit of cancer. I even told her that, okay, good a thing. That day was on a Wednesday. I even recommended prayer links for her. I even sent one to her. I started telling her that there is nothing God cannot do. You have to go for your medicals. You have to, there is something you take one step at a time. So that was how we put down the call until we got back to the office. He got on call again with my friend. She was crying. We are trying to encourage her. We even had to put a doctor online to go like helping us to let her know what is on ground. That is not a social media, it's not a crying thing. It is true. It's not even something you will hear, you will not wail, you will cry. But in it all, you have to pull yourself together, because if you don't pull that yourself together, you will not know the next step and the right thing to do. That was what we were telling her. The doctor now try talking to her. Okay, how did you go about? Have you removed the lump? Have they done what they are supposed to do? She said her doctor said it's stage 4. They did one thing. The doctor now said, well, you know, I can't see you. If these are the things your doctor, you've really gone for your examination, I think your situation needs an urgent attention. That was how the doctor exited the call. So as she was crying, with kind of just put yourself together. I was even telling her that God saw me through this. See the scar, it have all gone. See, you know, as she was crying, She said, okay, Zazie, please, can you just please help me send your own report when you were diagnosed so I could compare it with what my doctor gave to me? I said, okay, no problem. That was how I gave her my results, because she said she wanted to compare it with what her doctor gave to her, only for me to see on social media on Friday of it that it was the result I gave to her that she doctored and flying it all over to back up the nonsense and the defrauding and the money people are raising for her. Can you even stand a doctor telling you that you have is days of sleepless nights for you if God is not on your side? If God does not come through for you, is days of trauma. At the hearing of that news, life pause for some days for the person. He said she never knew me, and she has never spoken to any of my family members. She was in Asaba on Monday with some people to see my husband, my friend's husband, and my friend. But me, I wasn't there because I was emotionally traumatized. He came to beg. My husband said, you have to go online on social media to go and apologize to the public, to Nigeria, and tell them how it happened, what happened, and let them know the truth. I should be in my house resting, because I just finished my chemotherapy on the 30th of January here. I thought I was helping someone in need, not knowing that she has another agenda. Please, Nigerians, I don't know anything about the doctor's report that she's using the report to come and scam Nigerians of their money or anything. I'm not a party to it. This is evil. This is wickedness. This is demonic. I'm a proud survivor. Are you seeing my hand? Are you seeing this place? I'm a proud survivor. I'm a proud survivor. Jesus saved me.
Now, Blessing CEO, this isn't the first time that her original name is Okoro Blessing Nkiruka, if that really is her name at this point, because she has shown a pattern of being one who has tried to present a wrong impression to the public. Now, this isn't the first time. We're going to play another video now, and this video was from years back when she was just coming into the limelight, and she tried to position herself as someone who had just bought a house, took a picture in front of a house that was not her house, posted it on social media, and then the real owners of the house, when I think she went back again, they caught her, humiliated her on social media, made this video that went viral. While I'm not in support of videos being, people being publicly humiliated, because there is a way to go about it, but this was a video that went viral on Instagram where she confessed to her crimes or to her lies. Let's listen.
This video now you are covering now. Nobody will post it. Just in case. Come back.
This house does not belong to me.
Who does this house belong to? Onyeze who?
Yes.
Onyeze Nachiko. What did you do that made them to ask you to say the owner of the house?
I recently came here to take a picture.
You recently came in here to take a picture?
Yes, sir.
No, we are not going to. A picture of Onyeze, Abi? A picture of Onyeze? A picture of Onyeze's house?
Yes.
Don't say that.
I never said that.
You are Blessing who?
CEO.
Blessing CEO from where?
From Ebonyi.
From Ebonyi State. And you are an Instagram blogger.
Yes, sir.
You are an Instagram blogger. And this will be the first and last you ever claim.
So that shares with you the fact that there's been a pattern of telling lies, trying to present a perception to the public for whatever reason. But if we look at the facts of this case, one is the fact that if confirmed that this is true, of course it's still under investigation, but from what we see, the victim or the survivor has come out to dispute this. And if truly Blessing Okoro Nkiruka went to the extent of forging a document, she has committed a crime that is punishable under law. Section 419 of the Criminal Code is not a joke to you or to anybody. Coming online to lie about cancer and receiving money is obtaining money under false pretenses. She's played on the sympathy of Nigerians. And the unfortunate thing about that is that when the people who actually need the help come on social media to ask for help, they'll be second-guessed because of actions of persons like Blessing CU. Not only has she stripped people of opportunity to genuinely be helped, but also what she has done is disrespect the people who have lost loved ones, who have lost their lives, and those who are still in the fight against cancer. Pathological lying should not be rewarded. It should be terribly punished, and an example should be set so people know that whatever you want to do in the terms of catching crews or chasing clout, there should be limits, and that you cannot do that on social media and get away with it. She's the latest information is that she's deactivated her Instagram. We're waiting for her to come back on Instagram, but there should be investigation. EFCC should investigate this because there's obtaining money under false pretenses here. The Nigerian Medical Association has spoken against it, and I hope that more young people can watch this and learn that this is not a way to act. This is not a way to behave, and we totally condemn this here.
I'll just pick up from where you stopped, obtaining money under false pretense. She has violated the laws of the Federation, and she should pay. There should be consequences for bad behavior. The reason why society is the way it is today is people are not held accountable for their wrong deeds. We forgive them. VDM fighting on the plane, Mr. Jollof, go and sing no more, Kwamwan, and all of this. And it's not just celebrities, it's society as a whole. So if there are consequences for actions, people will think twice before doing it. Tomorrow will make it 2 weeks since I lost a dear friend to cancer. She's Catherine and I's mutual friend, and it's not very funny. She left behind 3 young children who grew up in their teenage and adult years without their mother. It's not something to be joked about. Why would you, first of all, it was the building. Why are you so keen to claim what you're not and what you don't have?
Has to be a mental illness.
And then you have to go
point.
all the way to claim a terminal disease. This is not funny. There are people that just wish they had a second chance. That my friend would wish she was alive today, but unfortunately, she was snatched by the cold hands of death. And to see somebody making a mockery of such a disease is appalling. And I hope an example is made of her.
And women have lost their lives, they've lost their breasts, people have lost their family members.
I mean, just to add to this, I personally made a vow that there's some people I will never talk about on national TV. And unfortunately, this individual is one of them. And I must say this here on national TV, she should be arrested. There's no means words. She should serve her jail term. This rubbish that is being done on social media. And again, I go back to my statement, Nigerians are Nigeria's problem. Because the way somebody of this character, somebody that is famous, that is, you are making this person famous, the person is busy putting out videos saying I found out recently said she's a therapist. What stupid therapist are you? Who made you a therapist? What school did you go to? And then you are busy stealing. As far as I'm concerned, let's leave this is not the government. Let the authorities have their chokehold on this issue, and they should push that lady. Look at what manner of stupidity.
And you know, want to use this opportunity to say that our hearts go out to everyone who's lost a loved one, a family member, a friend, due to cancer, the cold hands of cancer, and those who are still in the struggle. We hope that you win the fight and that, you know, you're able to get away from this. It's been a sad way, but let's end on a very happy note. We want to give a shout out to Mokonye Chukwuemeka's wife, who's turning a year older. We saw your comment. Emeka and Chukwuemeka, we wish you a very happy birthday on behalf of your husband, Mokonye, and all of us here on Breakfast Central. Thank you very much. Let's now share with you the top stories we're looking at this morning on the show. This morning on Breakfast Central, President Trump suspends Iran attack for 2 weeks subject to more straight opening. And we also will be moving away from America to talk about the budgets in Nigeria. Federal government budget 135.2 billion naira for 2027 post-election lawsuit. The new ADC group emerges, rejects David Mark-led administration, will be one of our conversations. FCT minister dismisses claims of bias against INEC. The running towards the election is getting heated up. The newspaper front pages will form a part of the show this morning, as they do every morning. Stick around for all these and more.
Thanks for staying with us on Breakfast Central. Let's start off the show in full swing in a dramatic turn of events. By the way, US President Donald Trump has announced a 2-week suspension of planned military strikes on Iran, stepping back from the brink of a potentially devastating escalation. The decision came just hours before a looming deadline for attacks following intense diplomatic efforts and a proposed ceasefire framework aimed at de-escalating tensions. However, it's mentioned that the situation remains volatile as reports indicate that U.S. and Israeli forces had already carried out strikes on Iran's petrochemical hub in the country's southwest, though authorities say no casualties were recorded.
And now, under the ceasefire agreement, Iran is expected to allow the reopening of the strategically critical Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil route, while both sides pause hostilities to allow negotiations continue. The temporary truce, reportedly mediated with the involvement of Pakistan, has raised cautious optimism, but also lingering uncertainty about whether it will lead to a lasting solution or merely delay further conflict. To help us understand this and, unpack the implications of this development, we're joined by Global Affairs Analyst, Bellcrest Institute, Joy John. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, how close did this whole situation come to full-scale military escalation before this pause was announced? In the past week, we had seen the President of the United States go on social media, make some very strong threats with expletives. And how close did we come? And what would you say, this means so far?
Well, this means that anything can happen. And, with President Trump, we have, I think, learned to just take him as we see him every day, present something new. With this war in Iran, anything could have happened. And indeed, those threats that he made could have very well happened. However, under international law, he is constrained to a certain level, but you don't want to dismiss whatever a president of a nation says. The presidents have the power to literally move mountains, do the undoable in any part of the world. So with President Trump, I think that he meant the things that he did say he will do. So we were, I would say, this close to just watching it unfold.
So where do we stand now? Because when the operations against Iran started, it was a joint operation by the Israelis and the Americans. And now the Americans have agreed to a 2-week suspension of hostilities. But the messaging we're getting from Tel Aviv is that they're not going to be a party with this. Doesn't this leave us in a precarious situation?
I think a lot of people, or a lot of Americans, are concerned that it seems that the U.S. bought the war from Israel. This was Israel's fight all along. America joined, and now it seems it's the U.S. in full force. A lot of people want to see the Israeli government step forward and make statements and take ownership of the war. But it's looking like it's more of the U.S. here, and I think the president is seeing reason to stall those actions he intended to take. And even now with the 2-week suspension on the strikes here on the table, the pressure has not gone away. In the last few hours, just before we came on here, Iran still launched ballistic missiles at Israel. That were intercepted, and also parts of UAE, I think, UAE said its air defense systems were dealing with missile attacks and incoming drones from Iran. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, they've also issued alerts of activated, defenses. So nothing really has changed. We're just taking it as it goes. However, I think it's important to note that the military capability behind, let's say, threats that are coming from the president are real, based on what we have on ground. The U.S. has about 50,000 forces on ground, which is about 10,000 more of what we normally have. So anything can happen. But I think that a lot of people just want to, see this play off.
Okay, but there's still questions like, was the president really going to do what he said? Looking at the countdown, because many felt it was just mere, it was just mere rhetorics, just mere statements. And the question really lies, do Americans think that the president would have gone ahead to really do what he said he will?
I will tell you that with President Trump as the president here, it's it's almost impossible to really come out and say this is what the president will do and not do. We just have to take him as we see him, and just as I earlier posited here. But I don't think that Americans actually largely do not want to be part of this war. In terms of going in full strength, like if he had gone ahead with the threat of the wiping out of civilization and all of that, the president really would have been constrained. And I say this because there is the 1949 Geneva Convention. Even the U.S. War Court abides by that. So you just cannot, go in and launch such an attack without knowledge of the fallout of that. So I cannot tell you that he would not have done it, and I cannot also tell you that he would have done it.
Okay, and truly, we cannot say what could have happened or what couldn't have happened, especially if we follow how this war has progressed in the past few weeks. But how strong or how fragile is this truce? We've seen in situations where there have been wars, and they've called truce for a short duration, and one party flouts this truce, and everything returns back to chaos. Would you say that you attach some measure of strength to this truce, or are there concerns that there might be some fragility to it that might be upset by either party?
You know that Iran has made a statement, whether many would want to admit it or not. They have made a statement that they are in this to battle it till the end. Like on street parlance, they say fight to finish. They also making a statement that they are prepared to run this. A lot of people did not foresee this running this long. I mean, many people thought it would have been over in the first week or maximum 2, but here we are, day maybe 40 now, 38, 40 of this war. And it's very hard to really know how this will run. It's with Iran and all they have, they want to make a statement, and with the issues, if you look at the 10-point ceasefire agreement that they put out there, it's still a long way, and if that really tells their position. So it's not something we can easily just pencil down and say, this is how it's going to fall out.
All right.
Okay, let's look at, we're in unprecedented, uncharted territories when it comes to the presidency in the United States. And so many people, observers have said, all citizens of the world should be allowed to vote in United States elections, because the consequences of the actions of the United States government affects basically everyone in the world. You can look at gas prices in Nigeria and everywhere in the world. But looking at the last 2 tweets, not tweets, the Truth Social posts, because he's also changed the way people communicate diplomatically. Most people get government policy from his Truth page. The expletive reading post, and then the one he put out yesterday where he threatened genocide on a whole civilization, 90 million people. He said a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. This is language. This is genocidal language, to put it shortly. And people are wondering, where is the moral conscience of America? What are Americans saying? Where are the Democrats? What is Congress saying? Because they started this war in the first place without congressional approval. So could you help us break it down to our global audience and how democracy really works in Nigeria? In the United States, if one man can threaten a whole civilization and basically get away with it, are there no guardrails or checks and balances?
Indeed, there are. That's a beautiful question. And indeed, there are guardrails, there are checks, and that's why we have the Congress. But then again, in politics, in the way it's designed here, it's a game of numbers. The Republicans currently have the day on the Senate floor and in Congress at large overall. And it's also telling on some of the issues that have passed through Congress and how they have been handled. Now, when the President Trump made those comments, I want to assume or believe that he has advisors. He has who would actually guide him through, even though he has the ultimate powers to do whatever he wants to do as president. Those are the powers vested on the executive, on his office as the executive here. But it's important that we also highlight the war crime, what we have, the U.S. War Crime Code. I touched on that earlier. Now, a lot of, I would say most, let me be specific, more than 100 U.S.-based international law experts have warned, following those tweets, that if, for instance, the U.S. Bombs Iran civilian infrastructure, that will be determined as a war crime. What is the war crime there? What are the regulations of the war crime? The regulations of the war crime defines conduct that violates the 4 international agreements here. I talked about the 1949 Geneva Convention. I also talked about the Hague Convention 4 and the protocol of provisions or restrictions of the use of mines, booby traps, and all other devices there. So that's why I said the president will be constrained. So you cannot skip over that part. So yes, he could express his thoughts or what he intends to do, but he will be constrained, and the U.S. will not want to violate these 4 international agreements here. It's very important. But beyond legality, I think it's politically explosive. Those comments. And again, it also hardens public opinion. A lot of people are divided, and we've been seeing reactions from the international community. So comments like this really can, affect how people perceive the government. I think that in modern conflicts, perception matters as almost as much as what you have on the battlefield. So I took those comments. I actually cringed at those comments, but then again, I have utmost respect for the office of the U.S. president. I know that his advisors will guide him accordingly.
Right, and one of the hopes is that this 2-week truce will lead to something more permanent. But Iran state media has said that they would only agree to a conclusion of the war if certain criteria are met. They gave a 10-point agenda. And the list of these 10 points included the lifting of all primary and secondary sanctions on Iran, continued Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz, U.S. military withdrawal from the Middle East, and an end to attacks on Iran and its allies, the release of frozen Iranian assets, a UN Security Council resolution making any deal binding, and there was a document released in Farsi, and in that one there was a phrase that said the acceptance of enrichment for its nuclear program. But they said that the journalists did say that the English version that was released to them did not contain that phrase for whatever reason. Do you by any chance, from maybe previous character evidence or from what you see with the Donald Trump administration, do you see a possibility of the U.S. shifting ground? Because it's a negotiation, meaning that you will concede to some of the terms you probably typically do not agree with. But from what you know of the United States presidency, do you see them shifting grounds on any of these conditions?
So nothing is impossible, especially where diplomacy steps in. You can see where Pakistan is coming in here. Nothing is, I have learned over time never say never. It's a common cliche that we say, but never say never, because yes, the U.S. is a great nation, but I think, like I just posited earlier, Iran is showing that, look, we're no longer babies. We are here to rumble. We're going to rock it out with you. We perish. That's the mentality there. So it's not going to be a walk, just a walk in the park like that, or something that, you can just put out. At this point, Iran is in control of the Strait of Hormuz. That is something that has sent ripples across the world. So it's beyond, you can't bully Iran, if I could say that. You can't force them to do what they do not want to do. So there has to be a meeting point. And that meeting point is going to be only successful where diplomacy is allowed to come in and create that room for dialogue, so both parties have to be willing to sit at the table. But do not forget, I did mention earlier that Iran is also still in the midst of this ceasefire. They're still launching missiles towards Israel. Don't forget, and I deflect here a little bit to what happened with Israel, Ukraine and Russia. Even while they were calling for a ceasefire, Russia was bombing. I mean, Russia was sending out. So these kind of things are normal in conflicts, but then it's how it's managed. Is diplomacy going to be given a seat at a table? Can we come on at some point and agree? That room will, of course, I would say, create the atmosphere for any of this thing for anyone to back down. Iran does not look like they want to back down. They want to make a statement so that their neighbors, their brothers will respect them, because for over, let's say, 40 years now, they have been disrespected, or I would say looked down by the wider international community. So now they want to show that, look, they have what it takes to rumble, and that's what we're seeing play out here. But anything can happen, my sister.
Okay. All right. I mean, with going forward with this, how do you think this will actually impact the global community? I think at some point the world was at a standstill, waiting to see what will happen. And then, of course, this truce, 2 weeks. How will this impact heavily on the world, as it were? The global oil market, the economy, especially, I always like to ask, Americans, what do they make out of this?
For lack of a better word, it's hurting. We're feeling it. It's like we're about to, I'm not, let me not go there, but we're really feeling it. As of yesterday, the gas prices were on the pump were like $4.20. What we would normally buy for $2.60, or just before this war, $2.60 a gallon, or the max $3, but now we're looking at $4.20 per gallon. And in parts of California, they're looking at about $6 average per gallon. So markets hate uncertainty. That is one thing that I think we should take away from this, because you don't even need an actual disruption. Just the threat of instability around the Strait of Hormuz alone is sending oil prices all over the place. We have seamen who are currently stranded at sea because of all of this. And then you're looking at insurance prices and all of that. So this is really, it's wider than we think it is. The pressure is creeping. And even central banks are forced into tough decisions again. So, and even for developing economies, I mean, I think that's where it's going to bite for those who have failed over time with their leadership to manage their economy. It's going to hit everybody.
Okay.
Joy, as we begin to wrap up this conversation, what lessons can be learned from this unnecessary war, really, that has led to death and destruction, and also the turning of the international world order on its head? Because we've seen parties brazenly disregard international law, bombing civilian sites, and doubling down on it. How can we prevent this sort of situation, unilateral action, just going into a country and doing what you decide to do by disregarding international law, because it was an illegal attack on the Republic of Iran in the first place?
So we also saw what happened in Venezuela, where the president was and the wife were picked up from their bedroom in a sting operation there. And yes, we're seeing similar actions here in Iran. Now, I cannot tell you that there will be no conflicts. Yes, there will be many lessons. The lessons will be, look, no matter how small a nation is, you don't know what they have, because Iran now is showing us that, look, you guys have looked down on us for so long, but we have what it takes to battle you. So I think right now they will be commanding respect. I also think that, I also think that the world would need to watch the way they deal with, I'm having a cold.
Sorry about that. All right. So sorry about that. I just wanted to also point out, while you're answering that question, that this ceasefire deal, unfortunately, does not seem to cover Lebanon. In the U.S.-Israel conversation, Israel has agreed not to bomb Iran, but they have said that they will not extend the ceasefire to Lebanon. They've also said they've given information to particularly residents in Tyre. They had said that those in the suburbs in the city of Tyre, they said, out of concern for your safety, you must evacuate your homes immediately. To ensure your safety, evacuate your homes immediately and move north of the Zarani River. And we know that more than 1,500 people have been killed and more than 1 million people have been displaced in Lebanon as well. You know, how important is this part of the conversation? So it's a twofold question I have. How important is the Lebanon angle to the conversation? And how much influence does Pakistan wield? They've agreed to be the mediators, to host the mediation on Friday between Israel and Lebanon. So I think that that's another thing to look at, Wenga. How important Pakistan is in this conversation and how much influence they have in being able to ensure that this matter is resolved amicably. Okay, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's just we live in a different world where rules don't matter, and when it comes to diplomacy and negotiations, in the past you get excited that at least because you can't fight your way through a conflict. But we saw that in the middle of negotiations, the Omani delegation, the Omani foreign minister, did say that Iran had agreed to not enriching uranium to a certain level. Donald Trump has gotten a deal that was better than what Obama got in the joint JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action with Iran. So, but because of egos and because, I mean, it's almost like Israel dictates his moves, he decided to bomb and attack Iran, and the rest is history. We know what has happened since then. So when it comes to negotiations, I think the Iranian government will be taking a more hardened stance because they've learned from the past. I mean, in the past they had negotiations in Qatar and the negotiators were attacked by Israel, and this has happened again. So that you remember the saying, fool me twice, fool me once. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so it's going to be a really difficult one, but...
All right, welcome back, Joy. As we wrap up the conversation, I'd asked you two questions. One about Lebanon not being a part of the ceasefire agreement. Initially, Pakistan had announced that Lebanon was a part of it, but unfortunately, we've now found out that Lebanon will still be attacked by Israel. They've said they will not stop. And then, how much influence does Pakistan wield in being able to ensure that both sides come to a favorable negotiation? Joy, your mic is muted, I believe. If you can please unmute, and so we can hear you clearly.
Absolutely.
All right, please go ahead.
So with Iran typically does not respond in, I'll say, well, let me put it this way. They pretty much attack straightforwardly. And now it also uses a network that we're familiar. We talked about Lebanon. Lebanon is a key ally. Hezbollah there, and of course the militias in Iraq and the Houthis in Yemen. But I'll tell you that with what they're with this issue here, they all know what they're doing. They all have their positions. You know, Lebanon has a stance and is aware of what Iran wants to do, regardless of whatever Iran is negotiating with the U.S. or Israel through Pakistan. They are totally aware of it. So they are like standby allies. I mean, they're just it's not something new. I will tell you, it's not something, whatever position they take, it's not something that you're taking on their own. It's all connected. I don't know if that really answers what you're asking. I'll be more than happy to delve in further. But I think that having them not agreeing to any ceasefire is all an agreement. It's all part of the game for them.
Well, we are hoping that this becomes more permanent. Yes, we did see that there was an effect in the oil prices as soon as this was announced, but it did not revert to what it was before the war.
But
and
it's dropped to under $100 for now. So.
But it's not, I mean, everybody's feeling the impact.
Levels,
You're talking about gas prices in America. We're feeling it in Nigeria terribly. And for all our collective good, we do hope that they're able to reach a conclusion and that this war comes to an end. Keir Starmer is traveling to the Middle East. He's hoping to have a meeting as well with these leaders in the Gulf. And, they're all trying to put in their best to ensure that this comes to an end. Joy John, thank you for staying
I don't
on.
Thank
know
you,
how
Joy.
that, but before you kick me out, let me tell you, you talked about Pakistan. I missed that in my
Yes, oh yes,
response.
please.
Pakistan can come in there, and I think their role here will just be to have that room for dialogue. But they cannot influence anything. They cannot decide at this point. So they're just going to be the middleman, play the middleman, and between the U.S. and Iran. But they really have no powers. They want peace, but they really have no powers to decide the outcome. They're not as influential as China. If it was China stepping into the picture now, then I could say, aha, because China buys a lot of oil from Iran. But now in Pakistan, with all due respect to the nation of Pakistan, there are no China. There are no Russia here. So they may not have that leverage to influence any decisions at the table between Iran and the U.S.
All right. Joy John, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We do look forward to having a conversation to say thank God the war is over and celebrate how all our collective economies have improved as a result.
Thank you so
for your
much.
time.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
All right.
Let's now share what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Coming up next on Breakfast Central, federal government budgets 135.2 billion naira for 2027 post-election lawsuits. We'll be looking at the new ADC group that's emerged, rejecting the David Mark-led administration. Ariko Easter Sunday attack. Community dismisses rescue of abductees. Stay with us. While Nigerians are grappling with the rising cost of living, the federal government is reportedly marking a staggering 135 billion naira, specifically for 2027 election results or lawsuits. And this is separate from nearly about 900 billion naira proposed for the general conduct of the polls. The budgetary provision tagged electoral adjudication and post-election provision, essentially setting aside funds to handle lawsuits and disputes expected after the 2027 general elections.
This unusually large allocation, sitting under the service-wide votes, often criticized for being opaque, has sparked debate about transparency, accountability, and the government's anticipation of widespread litigation. A debate that has left Nigerians asking, are we planning for an election? Are we planning for a legal war? And what impact will this have on Nigeria's democracy and the need for credible elections? Join us this morning for this discussion is Sir Peter Okoro, Principal Attorney at Advocate Populi Law Firm. A warm welcome to you, Sir Peter, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
What a great time to be a lawyer.
Now,
What a great time.
A great time indeed. The federal government is reportedly budgeting 135 billion naira just for legal fees and election petitions in a country where we're told to tighten our belts. Is this an admission by the government that they expect the 2027 process to be fundamentally flawed and litigation-filled?
Okay, good morning, Nigerians. Good morning. The truth of the matter, my brother, is that elections in Nigeria, and recently they are not won in the polling booths. All the elections are usually contested and taken to the courts for final adjudication. Sadly so. So it has become part of the electoral process. So you have to prepare for it. As politicians are preparing to canvass for votes, they're also setting aside huge sums of money for electoral litigations. So the government too, INEC actually, is also setting aside part of its budget for electoral litigation. But 135 billion as legal fees, I don't know what that is for. It's really humongous. And I do not understand the rationale behind that. And this is because INEC is actually a neutral party in the election disputes, in the electoral dispute in courts. As it stands today, the burden of proof that elections are not or were not conducted in line with law rests on the petitioner. It's not even on INEC. The burden to prove rests on the person who has come to court. INEC is just a neutral party. So it becomes mind-boggling why they are budgeting these huge sums of money for election disputes. So I do not believe in my mind that this money is meant for legal fees. So that people will not come after lawyers and thinking that this money is being paid to lawyers. I do not think so. I think it is good that we are discussing this. Let us interrogate them. Let us push them to tell us what this 135 billion is actually for. I do not think it's for legal fees or for this purpose.
If you say, if you say it's not for legal fees, I mean, just last election, 2023, looking at the numbers, from Peter Obi's camp, they said he spent 744 million naira on court cases. There were also rumors about the total budget that was spent on court cases in 2023. They were huge. So, I mean, these court cases are not handled by civilians or just Nigerians, or you could say doctors or teachers. They're handled by lawyers. There you go.
Unless the journalists are lawyers.
I mean, by journalists. But, I mean, in this instance, if they need journalists to step in, just that we don't have the, what's that word? Local standing or what's
the legal qualification.
Yeah.
Well, I do.
Yeah, but you also
Speak for yourself.
of the whole process.
Relax.
Advance and everything. So.
but this figure is staggering, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And from 2023, what we saw, like I rightly mentioned, the figures, I'm going to pull out the figures as well because there's so many of them. I've mentioned that of Peter Obi, there's that of the PDP from the Atiku Abubakar's camp and so on. The spending and so on. What does this tell about Nigeria's electoral cycle and the future? Because it seems like, hey, do all you want to do, campaign all you want to campaign, jump from one ship or party to another. At the end of the day, now who get money pass will actually talk when it comes to legal cases. And that's what it's looking like. What's your take on this now?
So I started by saying that for the petitioner, he might need to spend a lot of money. So Peter B, Atiku, and all those are petitioners. You need to spend a lot of money because you are going to, for example, get CTC, certified true copies of maybe all the ballot boxes, the what do you call it? All the documents used in the election results. So to prove an election petition is very expensive. So if, for example, you are saying that I believe I won the presidential election in OF State, you are expected to bring evidence. So the petitioner can spend a lot of money. But what is boggling, what is tormenting the minds of most Nigerians, including myself, is the fact that INEC do not need to do that. INEC is a neutral party just to come to say, yeah, this is how the election was done. It is after the petitioner has proved this case, which is always very, very difficult. That is when the burden of proof now shifts to INEC. So there's no basis for such humongous amount of money.
Okay, so I do have a question about that when you speak about the burden of proof shifting to INEC, but I will ask that question when we return from this break. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the budget for post-election adjudication, and this time we're joined by Sir Peter Okoro, Principal Attorney at Advocare Populi Law Firm. Thank you very much for staying with us. And before we went on the break, we were saying how INEC isn't after the petitioner presents their case at the burden of proof, then shifts to INEC. Does that in any way maybe give some sense of credence to the fact that they will have a budget, because INEC will have representation? A number of the people or parties who take INEC to court, who take the opposition to court, or whoever it is that they're trying to sue in the election, will often join INEC as a third party. Is that a defense maybe as to the fact that they will need to pay lawyers, they will have people who would have to handle their brief? Does that in any way give credence to that argument or to that budget?
So legal fees, as you know, you're a lawyer, legal fees are paid as per the nature of work that the lawyer is going to do in the matter. It is actually true that lawyers will be engaged by INEC to defend these suits. However, the nature of work that the lawyers are going to be doing are more of being a neutral party in the matter. The people who came to court, the petitioners, are the ones that will prove their case before the courts. And after proving their case, basically it's for INEC to provide documents and and all necessary things to show that the election were conducted in compliance with law. So yes, there is need for a budget. I don't think Nigerians are saying that lawyers should not be engaged to defend the elections. But it's a humongous amount of money. How much are they paying lawyers? How much are they going to be paying lawyers as legal fees? And like the issue that's been agitating the minds of Nigerians, with the humongous amount, is INEC thinking in his mind that the election will be so badly conducted that there will be a floodgate of litigations. And so we need to prepare for it. Is that the whole essence? They need to explain to Nigerians what they are thinking in their mind. Because if the election is well conducted, if the election is transparently done, and then the wishes of the people, the wish of the Nigerian people, as expressed in the ballot, is declared as the final outcome, why will anybody go to court? There's this thinking that people say that politicians are bad losers. When they lose, they will not. That's not true. Nigerians are not daft. If I contest an election and I see that I've lost the election, the results have been so declared, why will I go and waste my money to go to court? It's actually a torture situation where petitioners go to court because they feel that the election has been truncated by INEC connivance with some unscrupulous elements who don't love democracy. So what we should be asking INEC is, what is his plan? This is the time for us now to poke INEC. What is your plan for this next election? The perception is already getting very bad with their handling of the so many issues with the parties, especially the opposition parties. So they need to come out clean. They need to build the confidence of Nigerians. If they don't do that, Nigerians will begin to feel that what's the point? And like it was also asked in this program, our elections should be determined at the polling booths, not by the courts.
And that brings that
determine the future of Nigerians and maybe discarding which of the Nigerian people. So we should isolate the courts from this movement.
And that brings me to this question. You know, INEC is the body that has been created by Act of Parliament to supervise elections and also announce election results, not courts. So what we're witnessing in Nigeria is an anomaly. But by budgeting such a massive amount for lawsuits, isn't the federal government inadvertently incentivizing a sue-at-all-cost culture among political actors? And doesn't this undermine the authority of the ballot, or of the ballot box? Because year on year, election cycle after election cycle, the litigations become more and more. What will it take to get us out of this conundrum?
Yeah, so this is part of the bigger problem, where so much monies are expended on elections, even by politicians and by government. By politicians, when you spend so much money on elections, it becomes an investment. It becomes an investment in which you must reap. And that also accounts for the low quality of leadership that we get in our country. So you are very correct. So when too much money is injected in this process, you know, it gives a signal that there's so much money to be made out of this system. Yes, we need to protect democracy, we need to conduct elections, but all effort, if this amount of money is geared towards technology, if this amount of money is deployed towards ensuring that the elections are free and fair, we had issues of retime or no retime, no internet facilities. If these monies are expended in that direction, I think we'll get better value for it. But if we have a situation where the government is preparing this money, is expending this money to prepare for war, then it's a very bad omen for democracy. And the government must explain. And more troubling is the fact that I am told that this money is being budgeted by the federal government and not INEC. INEC is supposed to be an independent National Electoral Commission who should have its own budget and spend its own money. So if the federal government is the one budgeting this, then it calls for serious introspection. What are we doing here? Is INEC no more independent? Don't they have their budget? So it's something that they cannot sweep away. They must explain to Nigerians what is going on. Why are you budgeting this type of money for this type of matter? Why you could not have budgeted this amount of money to improve technology and to enhance diaspora voting, to ensure that people have free, fair, and credible election. So I join all Nigerians to call on government to come and explain. They should not keep this already. And I thank the press for bringing this up. They must explain to Nigerians the whole items, these items. How many lawyers are you envisaging to engage? How many disputes are you, and why are you expecting so much disputes? So it is good that we are raising this issue so early enough so that they can explain to us. Because we want our elections to be decided at the ballot. And the wishes of the Nigerian people as expressed by the ballot is declared. Not in the courts. Not in the courts. Because when you do so, you put our judiciary into a mess. And then there's a perception of corruption and so many things happening. We don't want that for our democracy. They can do better. And I believe they should do better.
Okay, just to mention that there was a report that was launched. This report was released in 2025 by the Westminster Foundation for Democracy. The report is entitled, How Money is Undermining Nigeria's Democracy. How Money is Undermining Nigeria's Democracy. That report went ahead to raise the alarm of the increasing cost of politics in Nigeria. It pretty much called it the politics economy. And whether we like it or not, Nigeria is starting to look like the heaven of political economy, where politics is now expensive. This report went on to highlight the fact that people with disabilities will be removed completely, disenfranchised. They will not have the justice or the legal rights to be able to participate fully.
Even the cost of phones. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it went on to mention that the way it's going, I like this line and I want to bring it up. It says, post-election, listen, it said post-election litigation will cost 1 billion naira. It was as if they saw the future. Report released in 2025, it said post-election litigation will cost 1 billion naira. And then it said reps ticket will get up to 500 million naira, amidst other things that were listed in this report. The report was indeed backed by the European Union under White Civic Engagement Project and the likes. Very detailed report. I'd like to get your response on this, but we'll go on a quick break. My question to you while you put on it will be, now that we see that the figures are going up, what will happen to those who have just a clear-hearted reason to participate in politics, but now it seems like if they don't have money, they cannot go into politics? And what's the future for people living with disabilities, especially with this review of this report? So stay with us. We'll come back and then we'll discuss this in a moment. Thanks for staying with us here. We're having a very insightful conversation as the federal government has budgeted 135 billion naira for post-election lawsuits. And this has gotten many, including yourself, if care is not taken, worried about how 2027 elections will turn out. Our guest is Sir Peter Carvo, his principal attorney at Advocare Populi Law Firm. Before the break, we're looking at a report that was put together by Westminster Foundation for Democracy. I think I'd like to take you on this point where they said the document revealed that senior lawyers charged 500 million naira. I can see you laughing already. 500 million naira and 1 billion naira per client to handle election disputes from the tribunal level to the Supreme Court. So this might seem like open season for lawyers.
Even Olive might be considering going back to the
because
courts.
Olive is even thinking she might leave us on set post-election. She has already signaled interest. But like they say, the wind will catch her. But on a serious note, what does this portend for Nigeria's electoral cycle?
The fees charged by a lawyer is at his discretion. He has the right to charge any fees that he wants to charge. It's not a monopoly. There are so many lawyers who will charge less. So that should not really bother us, if only the process is meant for legal fees and not to engage in corruption and what have you. But the bigger picture, which you have raised, is the fact that our electoral process is very expensive, such that people who have clean heart, people who are genuine, who want to serve our people, cannot even dare near. Cost of forms is going very high, and so many things are going on. So this is how democracy died. This is how democracy died. The way it's going, very soon, it's happening already. Mediocre charlatans, people who just found money anyhow, will be our leaders. Why genuine people are being led by this set of people? So what do we need to do? It's not enough for us to lament. The problem too is that the Nigerian people are very docile. You and I, we talk and do nothing. If we come out in our neighborhood and say, no, this is the man we want to vote for, we know this man, he has integrity. And all of us come out on the day of election and we stand on the polling booth. The politicians can do nothing. And if they are sharing this money, because most of these monies that politicians amass is to buy the conscience of the people. And if all of us troop there, and then we say, no sharing of money, and we insist, the elections will be free and fair. But most of the time, the elites who wear suits and who complain and talk, they will sit in their houses on the election day. They don't want to come out, they are watching TV. They don't want to come out. And at the end of the day, we complain. So it's because politicians will continue to profit from this charade. And unless Nigerian people say no, they love it. They love this system we are talking about. Because it makes it easy for them. They just get money, bribe a few people, buy our people who are poor, who have been pauperized. They weaponize these things. And then, so politicians budget for everything. And they budget for litigation. Because once the election is tampered with, at the polling unit, it is messed up. They expect that the outcome, the other party will also go to court. So they prepare for everything. So we must begin to say no to this type of things, and then hold government account, continue to protest this malfeasance and behavior of politicians. And then, for lawyers, we're on our own. If you bring election dispute to us, we charge you any fee, we charge you. It is left for you to pay and not to pay. We are not coercing you to pay, But then that is not what we want for our country. We want that the election should be decided by the people and not by the courts. And that is what should be our collective aspiration.
And I completely agree with you that elections should be won at the polls and not at the court, because the real test of electoral integrity isn't about how many cases are won. It's how few cases even arise as a result of the elections. I did, just to mention the numbers again, for those who are wondering how we're talking about 135 billion in 2026. In 2022, it was showed that INEC litigation costs were about 2.1 billion in 2022, 3.08 billion in 2023, and all of a sudden, because of the Strait of Hormuz, it has reached 135 billion in 2026. Let's talk about the role that the judiciary has to play, because we cannot downplay that as well. The cases will be brought to court. There will be certain that will be reviewed as frivolous cases. But at the end of the day, the court is the final arbiter. The court is the final hope for the common, well, not court, they are not so common men in this case. But what role does the court have to play from the lawyers who will be representing these politicians, as well to the judges? Because are we expecting to see a case of duplicity of judgments like we've been seeing in the past 4 years, where we're seeing that multiple courts are giving conflicting judgments on the same matter? So speak to the importance of the judiciary, of the legal professionals understanding the role that they play in the forthcoming elections.
Okay, thank you. The judiciary obviously has become it's like the end point of the electoral process. And so after the elections, the battle shifts to the courts, and you will now hear things like all eyes on the judiciary. Now, the judiciary, unfortunately, is brought in. This is not what happens in civilized climes too. There are litigations, but the volume, like we see in Nigeria, is over the roof. So what do we expect the judiciary to do? We expect the judiciary to know that they serve as a bulwark of democracy. They must be defenders of democratic values and norms, because whatever decisions they take affect the generality of citizens. So therefore we call on them not to apply technicalities, because when you do this, Nigerians begin to lose confidence in the judiciary. They must avoid technicalities. They must look at the law as it is and look at the facts, and then give judgment that represent the wish of the Nigerian people. As for the lawyers and legal professionals, we are trained as lawyers that we also owe a duty to society, to justice. It's not just about winning cases in every matter. We must not be enablers of the destruction of democracy. If our client has lost the election, we should be able to advise our client to say, you have lost the election. My brother, you lost the election based on the facts that you have presented before me. Why do we need to go to court? And if you have gone through fraudulent means, we must be patriotic citizens, not to enable these things. So we owe a duty to our country, as every other citizen, to protect this democracy. And so the judiciary must wake up. We do not want to see too much of technicalities, or we don't even want to see technicalities. You know, let justice be justice. Let Nigerian people see justice. And if possible, let the process be so open. If you notice during the Peter Obi and Atiku's election dispute, it was during the time of judgment that the proceedings were televised. So why can't we televise it from day one? Let there be Zoom links. Let Nigerians see what's happening in the courts. Let us see what is happening there. Let Nigeria see just like the way it is. Zoom link, WhatsApp, let everybody be seeing it. It's not a secret court. Let Nigeria see the evidence that the other party has brought, why you are rejecting the evidence, if you are rejecting any. This is how you build confidence. It is not, and then we must not also bully the judiciary. The judiciary must not be bullied by citizens and say you must give judgment in this manner. No, that's not how, because the judiciary must also be isolated from the gossip on the streets. The judge must be a judge that looks at evidence, holding the sword, putting them on the scale of justice and say, look, based on the evidence before me, this is the position of the law. This is what we want to see. And I believe that the judiciary also know what's happening. They know the stakes are high, and I believe they will do the right thing. Same for lawyers. So Nigerians can be rest assured that the right thing will be done. I believe so. I hope so.
Okay. Anyway, I think we've looked into this. I mean, there are more angles to look into this conversation. One would wonder that INEC just recently presented their costs, the bill for running 2027 election, which is amounting to 873.78 billion naira. That's for INEC. And then the Senate goes ahead to say they need to add an extra 30 billion naira to that the money is not enough. If you add that 30 billion, we're getting to almost, that's
getting closer to $1 trillion, actually.
That's almost let's just say it's $1 trillion naira. 1 trillion naira, you know, of course, by the time you add tax and all those things, 1 trillion naira. And then the federal government now comes with this 135 billion naira. So the cost of Nigeria's election is even becoming a worry.
I mean, if it's so expensive, you expect quality representation,
perfection.
And the outcome should reflect the cost, but the case is different.
So Benga, just it's like you're budgeting 1 trillion naira for the elections. At the same time, you've now said, okay, you know what, budget almost 140 billion, so that after the elections, we'll still go to court
after the expensive elections.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, by the way. It just affects the mind when you think about how these monies are being spent generally. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for the conversation so far.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. Let's just move on and tell you about a situation we talked about yesterday. It had to do with some members of a community who were abducted, and then there was a misconception and a miscommunication, as it were. But residents of Ariko community in Kachia local government area of Kaduna State have dismissed claims by the Nigerian police force and the Nigerian army that abducted villagers kidnapped on Easter Sunday morning have been rescued. Community members who spoke to News Central Television say that those the security forces claim to have rescued are actually abductees from Katambi, a neighboring village, who were released after ransom was paid by the families. Take note. But News Central correspondent swung into action, Joshua Marayi, and he was on the ground in Ariko and shared this report.
Assessing Ariko community following the Easter Sunday attack has become a red zone and a danger to visit without security escort.
This bridge you see here is the major bridge linking the other parts of Kachia to Ariko village. And from what we gathered from residents and locals in this area, this bridge has been like this for almost 10 years now.
The community, largely agrarian, was thrown into chaos and panic after armed gunmen attacked, killing 5 people and abducting several others.
This is St. Augustine's Catholic Church in
Kachia local government, Ariko community. This is one of the two churches that was attacked on the Sunday, which happens to be the Easter day. Ariko, a poorly developed community with visible but unconnected electric poles, remains highly vulnerable due to a lack of network connectivity and bad roads accessible mainly by motorcycle. Eyewitnesses from the community say that the assailants came from this route, attacked, unleashed mayhem, kidnapped a good number of residents of this community, and left, but not without taking the offerings of the church members of both churches with them. Eyewitnesses who recounted the attack insist their loved ones are still in captivity, contrary to police and army reports claiming their successful release.
My wife, my two daughters, they were taken. So my senior brother was killed.
Up to now, I'm so Gumapia. I'm telling him.
This is the gravesite of 82-year-old Tanko Aluna, who died as a result of gunshot from the assailant. Tanko Aluna is a member of the Ekwa Church, but unfortunately on that day of the attack, he was shot down, and this is his resting place. Residents say they are struggling to cope with the aftermath, as the majority of those still in captivity are women and children. They are urging both the federal and Kaduna state government to intervene urgently, warning that their hope is failing. In Ariko, Kachia local government area of Kaduna State for News Central, Joshua Imarai.
Very sad report there from Joshua Imarai, going straight to where it happened and bringing the story to life. Well, we'll have more conversations on that. Stay with us. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the ADC once again. We do hear there's a new group, and someone is talking tough, saying he's a bona fide member and should also be recognized. You may wonder what's going on, but stay with us. Everything is going here on Breakfast Central. Welcome back. Let's tell you that a new group has emerged within the African Democratic Congress, declaring itself the party's legitimate leadership and distancing itself from both the Senator David Mark coalition and the group linked to the former National Deputy Chairman, Nafiu Bala Gombe. Now, the group led by Don Norman Obinna, in which many have attached embattled to his name, asserts that it represents the duly elected members of the party's National Executive Committee, NEC. Addressing journalists in Abuja on Tuesday, the group, or you could say the man himself, stated that the tenure of former National Chairman Ralph Nwosu, who handed over the party to the structure of a David Mark-led coalition, expired in August 2022. It accused Nwosu of unlawfully remaining in office beyond its mandate, a situation it says led to several legal disputes. The faction further described the handover of the party to the opposition coalition as illegal. As part of resolutions announced at the briefing, the Obinna-led group stated the following, and I would mention them. 1. It distanced itself completely from Senator David Mark and members of the coalition. 2. It rejected the Nafiu Bala Gombe's claim to the position of National Vice Chairman. Also, not forgetting, it also insisted that the David Mark-led coalition are not members of the ADC and lack the authority to represent the party. It further went ahead to reaffirm that former presidential candidate Dumebi Kachukwu remains a recognized member of the party and announced the appointment of interim officials to oversee party affairs pending a national convention. But let's just take a look at what the embattled group head had to say.
9. David Mark-led leadership put in place measures to remove all the state chairmen of the party for the simple reason that they did not fit the mold of chairmen who could represent the elite. Now 10, we had 5 2 court cases challenging the illegality of their action prior to INEC's recent position. 11, now in the absence of the National Working Committee since August 2022, the NEC, being a constitutional, valid and subsisting organ of the party, remains the only authority to speak on behalf of the ADC. Arising from an emergency NEC meeting held today, the 7th of April 2026, the NEC therefore resolved and states as follows. 1. We dissociate the ADC from David Mark, Rafa Lebeshala, Bolaji Abdullahi, Professor Sumbo, and all members of the so-called coalition who attempted to hijack our party, and state that all actions taken by them in the name of the ADC are not binding on the ADC. 2. We dissociate the ADC from the claims of Nafiu Gombe and firmly and unequivocally state that he has never held the position of deputy chairman of the ADC. 3. The ADC remains a party of and for all Nigerians, and not just for former political office holders and the elites. The ADC is also not for sale. 4. The people who have called themselves the coalition have no democratic credentials and are only interested in the power grab, as evidenced by the way and manner in which they attempted to hijack our party and throw out the original members. 5. We affirm that our former presidential candidate, Mr. Kachuku, is a committed and bona fide member of the party who supported the sponsor by David Mark.
Okay, a lot has been said. Well, joining us now to discuss this latest development is the National Vice Chairman of ADC Southwest, Honorable Akin Omole. Thank you for joining us this morning. Honorable Omole, are you there?
May I with you?
All right. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much, Honorable Omole. I think our first question will be to get your general sense of what is happening within the ADC. 2 days ago, we had the spokesperson of the ADC join us on the show, and Mr. Abdullahi did speak to the drama within the party disregarding the leadership of and the claims by Nafiu, Bala, and now we have a new claim by a third party. So it would seem that there are 3 different groups within the ADC. Can you talk to us about your thoughts about each of these groups, and which do you consider the legitimate leadership?
Before the court case, we had series of meetings with the leadership of ADC. I mean the David Mark-led group. We had a serious meet with them. We amended the constitution and some other regulations guiding the affairs of the party. And we arrived at a situation where we had an interim national executive. Names were submitted to INEC. INEC responded by accepting the Mark-led executive. A letter was issued, and even in the course of the case issued by Bala, the INEC sworn to an affidavit acknowledging that it is the David Mark-led executive that is the recognized executive. The law is this: when people talk about status quo ante, status quo means what is the position before the commencement of the case. There has never been a time when ADC did not have an executive. The Unwosu group left while David Mark group came in. Bala has never been the national chairman at any time. So if at all the court is talking about the status quo, it can only mean the status quo as at the time of the commencement of his case. And who is the chairman? Who did the law recognize as the chairman? Even INEC recognized as chairman at that time. It is the David Mark-led executive. That is why we are so surprised that the chairman of INEC will come up with a different interpretation. And that is why we could not arrive at any other conclusion other than the fact that it's being controlled from somewhere. If I must talk about the new group we are talking about, to the best of my knowledge, that one is talking nothing. He's not saying anything at all.
But do you know him?
If tomorrow, when we say I don't know him at all, because I belong to the David Mark-led executive.
Okay.
I don't know him. And I want to tell you, anybody can just go and hire one hall and claim to be a faction of a group. We have seen a lot of things happen in this country. And I expect what I expect INEC to do in accordance with the law of the land is that having recognized the David Mark-led executive, INEC should wait. And when I say wait, till the conclusion of Bala's case, you cannot come to another position, even before the conclusion of the case. If you are now saying David Mark-led executive is not recognized, you are already predetermining the judgment of the court. And the court did not say such. All what the court said was the status quo. And what was the status quo before the commencement of the case? Even if David Mark-led executive was not in place, the guy would not have gone to court at all. So when you want to preserve the rest, what is the rest? All they are saying is that the status quo as at the time of the commencement of the case, and it is the David Mark-led executive that took over, which made the guy to even commence a case in court. So that is the status quo. No. And it still beats our imagination that INEC chairman could come up with a different interpretation. And we are not surprised.
No, Honorable Mole.
Because INEC has always been acting as if it is not independent.
Honorable Mole, a lot of political observers are now comparing your party to the Labour Party and the sorts of troubles they went to.
Can you speak louder? I can't hear you properly.
I said a lot of political observers are comparing the ADC to the troubles the Labour Party went through with different factions, with the Lamidi Papa, the Julius Abure faction, and the others. What is your party doing to prevent internal wranglings and to stop people from, using this opportunity to foment trouble within the party? Are there internal dispute mechanisms to stop this? Because we're inching closer to the 2027 elections, and as they say, a house divided cannot stand on its own.
Yeah, thank you. We don't really have problems at all. It's not an issue within the party. It's an external interference.
By who?
Why do I call it? By the government in power, by the APC. I have evidence to prove that. Let me tell you, for the first time in the history of this country, you will see that all opposition parties are in crisis. All opposition parties. In NMPP, that is Kwakwaso Party, they were in court before now, and I think they are still in court. The same in Labour Party, the same in PDP, and now in ADC. That has been the pattern. And we are talking politics. You had Nwosu when he told Nigerians that. So members of APC approached him. They wanted to give him money. He refused. But Bala has lent himself to the APC. He agreed to it. And that is why we are having crisis. Why did we hear about ADC before the David Mark-led executive came in? There's never been anything like ADC in the strict sense of it. It has been existing as a political party. But when the opposition sees a party growing and becoming a truly national party with the capacity to challenge them, they being the remnants, charlatans within the system, and now begin to induce them with money. That is just what is happening. And this is the fourth party now. NMPP, Labour Party, PDP and ADC, and we don't have any other interpretation to give to this.
You did say you
have.
have evidence to prove that the APC is responsible for this disruptions in your party. Please, can you share some of the evidence you have with us?
What I said is that's what I said. Nwosu, the former chairman of ADC, has said it publicly. It's not about a private talk. Publicly, that members of APC offered him money and that he rejected it. That is an evidence.
Okay. Let's look at the way forward now. It was also mentioned, even yesterday, we had spoken to your national publicity spokesperson, a national spokesperson, I beg your pardon, Dr. Bolaji Abdullahi. While here, you also affirmed a statement that was made by an embattled member of your party that the two parties were registered just in case the ADC doesn't work or the opposition have decided to hijack the ADC, then everyone can just jump ship and move to another party. Likely, we think that party is the NDC. But can you confirm to us that there could be an internal communication, or there's a belief, let me use the word belief, that should the ADC not make any headway, you all may be moving to another party as well?
What I will say with regard to that is this. Anything said by Bolaji Abdullahi on this matter is the position of the party, because he's the spokesman of the party. I am not in a way to amend it in any manner. But the issue is this. We will confront this problem, and our members will contest the 2027 elections without any hindrance. I can assure you of that. We are exploring all political and legal means to make sure that ADC does not run this show alone.
Do you have trust? Do you have trust in INEC? Do you believe that the Professor George Amukpita-led Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, will do the needful in following the law? Because the ADC is, I mean, in your release documents, you've highlighted so many reasons why INEC should not have removed the Senator David Mark-led coalition. So do you have trust that INEC would actually track back and look carefully into reasons why they should actually put their names back and recognize them?
The fact speaks for itself. We have made the position clear that the INEC chairman has given a wrong interpretation to the position of the court. Personally, I speak for myself now that such a person has put a doubt in the trust that ordinarily our party should have in him, except he purges himself of this doubt. He must now conduct himself in a manner to show that we can trust him again. But for what he has done in recent time, I don't think such a personality deserves to be trusted.
And do you think that the ADC will be able to surmount its challenges before 2027? Because this is quite how the PDP's problem started. It was very small, and before you knew it, things were blown out of proportion. And right now, the PDP is still trying to find its way home. Do you see the ADC being able to surmount its challenges and field the candidate for the 2027 elections?
Yeah, I said this. We are on top of the situation. There are some things we will not say here because of the situation now. We can't disclose to you how we want to arrange ourselves, but I want to tell you, I've said it earlier, that we will contest all elections. And in doing so, we will explore all the possibilities within the law of the country, the constitution and all the laws, at least applicable now in this country.
All right.
To contest the elections, the governorship elections, National Assembly elections, and the presidential election. And at the end of the day, this party is about Nigerians. It's not about party officials. It's just a vehicle for Nigerians to effect the change that is necessary now the change that everyone wants now, that is what we stand for. And we all within the law to make change.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. We must mention that we have extended an invite to Nafiu Bala Gombe. Unfortunately, that invite has not yet been honored. We hope that we will be able to hear from his side as well, so we can have a much more balanced conversation. Thank you for joining us, and we wish the ADC all the best.
Thank you, Honorable Omole.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, we will now go on a break, and we have the news coming up in a moment. Being Okoro will be bringing us the breakfast headlines. Please stay with us.
You're welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. The United States President Donald Trump announced on Tuesday that he will suspend bombing and attacks on Iran for 2 weeks as part of a proposed ceasefire deal contingent on Tehran fully reopening the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Trump posted on X that, quote, subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. He emphasized that the pause would serve as a double-sided ceasefire. The president explained that most U.S. military objectives have already been met and that both sides are close to a long-term peace agreement, including broader peace in the Middle East. The announcement followed a last-minute proposal from Pakistan to avert a major U.S. military strike, which came after Trump had warned that a whole civilization will die tonight if no deal was reached. Trump added that the 2-week period would allow both nations to finalize and consummate the agreement, with almost all previous points of contention already addressed. In a development that could ease tensions in the Gulf, Iran announced on Wednesday that it will guarantee safe passage for maritime traffic through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz for the next 2 weeks. The announcement comes ahead of talks with the United States aimed at ending the ongoing conflict, which are scheduled to begin on Friday in the Pakistani capital, Islamabad. Iranian Foreign Ambassador Abbas Araghchi stated on X that for a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. Meanwhile, the Supreme National Security Council of Iran said that the negotiations are planned to last 2 weeks, but could be extended by mutual agreement between the parties. Here in Nigeria, 5 villagers have been killed and about 150 others abducted after armed bandits attacked the Baga community in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. Residents say the attackers stormed the village with sophisticated weapons and explosives, setting homes ablaze and sending families fleeing into the bush. In the chaos, several villagers were shot while many others were forcefully taken away. Local vigilantes who attempted to defend the community were also injured and are receiving treatment. Thick smoke was seen rising across nearby settlements, signaling widespread destruction. The council chairman, Ishaku Bala, confirmed the attack, describing the situation as distressing and ongoing. Meanwhile, a new grouping within the African Democratic Congress has emerged, rejecting the authority of a coalition led by former Senate President David Mark. The group also distanced itself from another bloc associated with Nafiu Bala. The group, led by Norman Obinna, which claims to represent the party's legitimate National Executive Committee, said it will oversee operations ahead of the next national convention. Members state that the tenure of former Chairman Ralph Nwosu ended in August 2022, citing legal disputes following his continued leadership. The group also clarified that Nafiu Bala did not hold the position of National Vice Chairman. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has suspended its indefinite nationwide strike following a meeting with its National Executive Council. Members have been directed to resume duties at 8 a.m. on Wednesday. The decision follows assurances from the federal government to reverse the plan to halt the implementation of the revised professional allowance table from April 2026. The association says it has issued a new deadline of April 21st for the government to fully address outstanding concerns. Failure to meet the conditions could trigger another round of action. A minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has ordered the arrest of a developer following a hotel collapse in Jikwayi. He says the land will be seized for public utility projects. Wike revealed the developer ignored multiple stop work notices from development control, leading to the avoidable and dangerous structural failure. Although their lives were lost, Wike pledged strict prosecution with violators. He directed agencies to demolish all unauthorized buildings to safeguard residents across the capital. The Democratic Republic of Congo has agreed to accept migrants deported from the United States who are not its nationals under a deal effective this month. Officials say logistical technical support will be provided by Washington with no direct financial burden on the Congolese government. The number of individuals to be received has not been disclosed. The arrangement forms part of a broader United States immigration enforcement strategy, which has seen deportations to several countries across Africa. Authorities maintain that the process will not involve transfers to migrants' countries of origin. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aboroa. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome and thanks for staying with us on Breakfast Central. We'll go straight to the front pages of the newspapers. The phone number will be there on the screen so you can be a part of it. Please feel free to call, share your thoughts on some of the major stories you find on the front pages of the newspapers. Our guest is one who's making a return today because this is where he belongs. I'm not going to say a place at the, I'm just going to say a place
at the Breakfast Central table.
Breakfast Central table. We do have Mr. Kechuku Amechi, who joins us.
Publisher of the niche.
Yes, I'm coming. I want to give him his.
No, okay, finish. Then I'll add my own.
Okay, you want to add your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Or should I just say it? He has a niche for dissecting the news in a manner that.
Let me use this medium to quickly mention that Mr. Amechi has a 2026 annual lecture that's coming up. It's called Governing the Economy, Choices, Trade-offs, and National Priorities. I think this should be our first conversation this morning. I take charge of this one now. So I'm
the bell of conscience.
Welcome. Good morning, by the way. Good morning.
Good morning.
Joe, it's always my pleasure.
It's good to have you.
Olive, you're looking so pretty this morning.
Thank you, sir.
And Wenga, always my man.
Thank you. You're also my man.
Okay, let's get into the newspapers as Mr. Amechi, who has a niche for dissecting the news in the way that makes it clear, easy to understand, and, he's non-biased. Let's hear about his thoughts regarding the challenges plaguing the ADC. The big story on Al Jazeera midweek says, ADC crisis, new faction emerges, declares itself neck. Mind you.
One man neck.
One man neck.
Standing on his neck.
No eye. He doesn't have an eye.
Backs INEC on delisting, dissociates ADC from Mark Aregbesola Abdullahi, others, alleges attempt to hijack the party by non-members. Bear in mind that this one man, Don Norman Obinna, who was the Abia State chapter chairman of the ADC, that was suspended. But let's get into that.
But I want to ask him from a journalistic perspective, because this is headline news. Are we giving too much attention to what many people have called political charlatans? How much news value does this have? And are we contributing to the rot in our democracy by giving these people airtime and front page recognition?
God bless you for that question. God bless. Well done. Yeah, solid.
Well, are we giving charlatans undue airtime? You may say yes, but of course what is playing out goes beyond them. If it is just a question of, and I must agree, you characterize them well, they are charlatans. But they are playing a role that is detrimental to Nigeria's democracy. And that's where the big problem is. Because if you allow them, they will continue doing what they are doing, and Nigeria will be worse for it. Or Nigeria's democracy will be worse for it. So it's like the proverbial standing between the deep blue sea and the devil. Do we ignore them, or do you try to expose them? So if what the media is trying to do is to expose them for what they are, charlatans, that are being used, obviously, to derail the democracy that was won, not on a platter of gold, but the blood and sweat of many Nigerians, then I don't think we are wasting time doing that. Now, the question is, look, many more absurd things will still not come out of this ADC issue. We've been on this for a very long time. The truth of the matter is that even tomorrow, another group now will come up. The idea is to create as many problems as possible, to entangle ADC in so many problems that it cannot even come out of it. And of course, now the time is no longer there. If you go by the very strict and tight timetable that INEC rolled out, it then means that ADC is not going to be in a position to present the candidates. And that's what this idea is all about. I find it difficult to understand why some Nigerians pretend not to know what the issues are. The issues are not about David Mark or about Nafiu, Bala, who said he was now promised the deputy chairmanship or the vice chairmanship of ADC, and did not give it to him. The issue is that, how is it that a Nafiu Bala Gombe, people that know him know that he came from a very humble background. All of a sudden, the guy is moving about in a convoy of SUVs with police.
Dr. Bolaji Abdullahi mentioned it here yesterday.
Military protection.
And he has a suit in Transcorp Hilton.
Everywhere. They are living the best lives, flying first class, hiring senior advocates, not one now. So where is the money coming from?
It could be from a rich family.
Somebody that is of modest background.
He is not. In fact, there was this story the other day that somebody who claimed to be a cousin of his, and I said that the guy came into town the last time in a convoy of SUVs, that the people were wondering, where is this now coming from? Some have said that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is playing smart politics. That is what political sagacity is all about. I beg to disagree.
Master strategist.
I beg to disagree.
Why? Why do you disagree?
These people are destroying democracy. Democracy that the people don't have a choice. cannot augur well. There must be competition. There must be. It's an idea kind of thing that you come to the table. This is what I want to do for the people, particularly for the government that is running for a second term. The idea should be, you've been there for 4 years. These are the things we have achieved.
It's my track record.
This is what we've been able to do in the last 4 years. Then Nigerians will look at the opposition and see if they have something better. If not, you go on with what you already have. Now, does it worry anybody on this table that for a government that claims to have 32 out of 36 state governors have absolute majority in the National Assembly, controls all the levers of power that we know of, is still afraid of a competition? Nigerians should be concerned about what is going on. I read it, in my column last Thursday. I did compare what President Bala Tinubu is trying to do with what General Sani Abacha did in 1998, because I was in Maiduguri. I traveled to Maiduguri. I was at the convention ground where grassroots democratic movement, GDM, the last of the 5 political parties that led Bola Ige, may his soul rest in peace, described as the 5 fingers of
a leprous hand.
The other 4 political parties, UNCP and all of them, they have all adopted Abacha as a consensus presidential candidate. GDM was the only party that said, no, we're going to have a proper convention and we're going to choose a presidential candidate. And 2 people had indicated interest. Unfortunately, 2 of them are late now. Tunji
Braithwaite and MD Yusuf.
And Alhaji MD Yusuf, who used to be the IG of police in those days. And I got very, very close to MD Yusuf before he died. So we had not just this thing, and the tension was high. MD Yusuf, if you knew him, not very, very
principled man.
Principled and quiet, but he's a dynamite. He was just sitting down there, and the whole thing was moving on well. Tunji Braithwaite came to make a statement, and he was still speaking. All hell broke loose, and the policemen came, started beating people, and by the time you knew it, the whole place was scattered. And they later announced a result that Sani Abacha had won.
Yeah. African magic.
And that was how the 5 political parties now ended up adopting General Sani Abacha as a consensus candidate for the election that had been scheduled for 1999 then. Fortunately for Nigerians, Abacha dropped dead, literally. And that was the end of the thing. Abdul Salami came, dissolved the 5 political parties, and Nigerians formed their own political parties. So we are coming from somewhere, and it is sad that a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who claimed to be in the vanguard of the pro-democracy movement then, is the same man who wants to replicate what Sani Abacha wanted to do. How a Democrat will be afraid to go back to the people to revalidate his mandate, to go back to the people and say, This is what I promised you people I was going to do 4 years ago. And this is how far I've come. Even if you don't achieve 100%, but at least you can say, I have moved from point A to point B. And if you give me 4 more years, I'm going to get you to point C. Nigerians will be able to understand. But do you blame him? People have asked. David Mark in the video said, why is President, asked him personally, President Bala, why are you afraid of election, of a contest?
But Mr. Mechi, the ruling party will push back and say, there's no evidence to show that we're responsible for this, that it's the machinations of these parties that can't do a good job at housekeeping, that house that are a problem. And of course, we're happy to see that they're having problems. I mean, that's the messaging.
What do you expect them to say? What do you expect them to say? And how do you explain the fact that the parties that are having problems are all the parties that ought to present credible challenge, as it were? All the small parties, nobody's talking about them. How is it that when Labour Party, I said it here on Monday, when Peter was in Labour Party, the Abures of this world, the Lamidia Papas of this world, they were all over the place, granting press interviews, going to court and all that. Immediately Peter left Labour Party, everything quieting. INEC recognized the Nanadi Osman fashion of Labour Party. Then they moved on to PDP. INEC recognized the Wike-led fashion of PDP. And the first thing they do is to tell you that they don't have credible or people who could provide credible challenge. And therefore that they will limit all their destinies to governorship, National Assembly elections, but when it comes to presidency, that they can't challenge the president. How do you explain that? How do you explain that they moved to NNPP? The moment Kwakwanso left, everything cooled down in NNPP, and the only, just like GDM of 1998, the only party that poses credible challenge at the presidential level is ADC. And all the people, and the Don Norman that claims to be doing this thing. Don't forget, I think there was this thing that came out the other day that he was also
yes, he's wanted.
Declared wanted.
Declared wanted by the police.
By the police.
But
the state.
Okay. Don Norman, yes. Don't for a reason.
Yes.
And these are some of the characters that are causing problems for everybody. And look, Nigerians now should be sad. Honestly, Nigerians now should be sad. Celebrating what is happening as political ingenuity. Look, if PDP had played the same game of political ingenuity, in quote, would APC have been registered? Many people have come to say that ADC should have read the
room or
handwriting on the wall and go for a new political party. Would INEC have registered a new political party that they know that the members will provide credible opposition? So we are just celebrating.
I mean, we've even seen the NDC, the one registered by former Bayelsa State Governor Seriki. Just yesterday, he was already putting tweets out. There seems to be a faction that is emerging, and he said where is the faction coming from? And it happens to be a close associate, as it were. And it was stating that, listen, the NDC wasn't registered by INEC, and the reason was very funny. They said because his logo was 2 fingers. He had 2 fingers on his logo, that is quite similar to the broom of the APC. And he said, how is that possible? So he was breaking down and it was one of the, it's the funniest read I've had this week. It's so funny.
But let's move on to
exactly. I do want us to take another story.
Front page of Al Jazeera midweek. Collapse Beauty Wiki orders land seizure, prosecution of owner, and then this is happening at the same time. Where can we have the video of that land? What was it called? Windstorm in Abuja, where the roof and many parts.
Well, the windstorm that damaged the train station.
Newly built bus terminal was destroyed. So there you have it. The
Kugbo bus terminal.
Kugbo bus terminal.
Yeah, train station.
It led to damage of a car. Thankfully, no life was lost. And this is something that was just newly constructed. And then you wonder the quality of the materials, what sort of contractor was it given, and juxtapose them with the
hotel building collapse
in Jikoyi.
Now, to give a bit of context to that hotel collapse in Jikoyi, yes, there were no lives lost, but PK did say that there were injuries and that they had given stop orders and stop notices that were
a few times they were
flouted. So let's have Mr. Amechi react to that.
Well, look, we must also, people must play by the rules of the game. If there is a stop
work notice
that had already been given, I should think that the contractor ought to have stopped and go and get whatever it is that ought to be done in terms of clearing. Look, the menace of building collapse in Nigeria has almost become an epidemic. We are fortunate that no life was lost in this case, but we've seen so many other instances where many people died. And again, like so many things we do in Nigeria, at the end of the day, nobody is prosecuted, not the owners of the buildings, not the contractors, because buildings don't just collapse. Building collapse fundamentally is a function of the use of substandard materials or the use of inadequate materials. If you are going to raise a 10-story building, for instance, there are standards in terms of what you have to do, the foundation, the kind of rocks, the pillars, all the things that you have to use. So when you use materials that you ought to use for a bungalow, and use it for a 2-story, a 3-story building that can't carry the weight of what is on top, it is likely to collapse.
Yeah.
And if that happens, you have deliberately put other people's destinies in danger. So, and there are sanctions. There are rules, there are guidelines for building that so many people flout. In fact, before you start a building, you ought to get an approval.
They didn't get this approval.
All the distance must be there. The building plan, the drawing, everything must get approval. And there must be supervision from time to time as to whether you are meeting up with the already laid standards, When you don't meet up with those standards, the fact of the matter is that it is likely going to lead to a disaster. If it does not lead to a disaster, it is not because of anything. Just that you are lucky does not mean that it won't eventually get to that level. Even if it does not collapse while you are building, 2 years, 3 years down the road, because the weight cannot carry what is going on there. So
and the question will not be,
I don't blame Wike.
Yeah, but then the question will be, should that same standard be applied to the Kubo bus terminal? Because just a minor, well, I won't say minor, a storm, it rained, there was a storm, and the whole structure collapsed. And they're saying this bus terminal was built with taxpayers' money. Are we getting an explanation?
Not the whole structure, the roof.
Well, the roof did collapse. They say, are we getting any explanation? And a lot of money was, assigned to it. It hasn't even been officially, it hasn't started working, like they haven't started using it. Yes, it's gotten its approval. They've done the conclusion of the project for a while, and they were supposed to have officially opened it to the public. Thankfully, they didn't open it to the public, because imagine how much damage this would have caused.
Only the truth of the matter is that some of the worst culprits when it comes to building substandard structures are people in government. I'm from Imo State. When Owele Okorocha, there was no single structure that was built by the Rochas Okorocha-led administration that is still standing today. The bridges have collapsed. The flyovers have collapsed. In fact, the bridge that leads to his place could not stand one season. It collapsed. So, yes, the same standard should be used in assessing buildings built by the government.
Right.
Who are the contractors? What kind of this? There must be probe.
I expect Nyesom Wike, to do this probe, because, we've known him to be one who's very particular with infrastructure and infrastructural development, and we don't expect that this will be one of those that will be swept aside. But we want to now connect with our correspondent in South Africa. We did bring you updates regarding the coronation of Igbo King in South Africa, and the Nigerian High Commission the High Commissioner in South Africa has been summoned by the South African government to a meeting. We want to find out what the update is so far and how it has been, because, of course, we did see that there was a pushback by citizens. There were protests that had turned violent. But Bongani Siziba joins us live from South Africa to bring us update. Good morning, Bongani. Where are you at the moment? Has the meeting happened, and what should we expect?
Very good morning to you, and also good morning to our viewers. I'm in Pretoria at the Southern Sun Hotel, and the meeting is going to be happening here. I understand that the meeting hasn't started, but like you have rightfully said, that the Nigerian Commission has been summoned by the Traditional Affairs, the Department of Traditional Affairs here in South Africa, to come and have a discussion about what we have, the events that we saw previous week, where we saw protests that were happening in East London and also in Durban. The protests after we saw a Igbo King that was coronated here in South Africa, and there were frustrations from South Africans and also some other Nigerians also saying that whatever happened, they condone it, because you cannot come into someone else's country and coronate someone as a king. But however, some Nigerians also saying that this was just a social event that means nothing. So South Africans got frustrated, and there were protests that we saw. But we just saw the ambassador of Nigeria just passing through. I think the meeting is going to start any minute now. So we'll hear after the meeting what the discussions were about and the resolution proportions. But however, we saw on Twitter some Nigerians also, with these heightened tensions coming out, also frustrating South Africans, some saying that they own at least 80% of RDP houses, some of them also saying that they have South African IDs, something that you look at it and ask.
All right, we seem to be having some connection there, but we will connect with Bongani Ziziba in subsequent bulletins. Of course, we do have 12 reports much later in the day, and we can have Jasiri as well coming up right after, and then we can have a detailed conversation on that. Unfortunately, we are almost out of time. We have less than 3 minutes. Mr. Amechi, if you can quickly react to this as well before we head out of the conversation.
Well, you know, we discussed this issue about 2 weeks ago. And I said, and Ohaneze has also said, this issue of Igbos having kings all over the place, it does not make sense. The idea of Ezendibo, this, Ezendibo, that, Ezendibo, this place, it does not make sense. For me, it is neither here nor there. These people are not Igbo kings by any means. There's no way they can be Igbo kings. If you want to be a king, go back home and be a king and be coronated. But I also said that day that does not excuse the xenophobic inclination of South Africa.
Okay, let's hear if Bongani is back. Speaking about the xenophobic inclination, there was some violence. I don't know if Bongani can let us know what the situation is. Okay, unfortunately, I wanted to find out with her, from her, if there is still violence, because there was violence as a result of these xenophobic attacks. We're almost out of time. I don't know that we can take any other story.
Touch on just to mention. I mean, we had talked about it earlier on that Mr. Ekechukwu, who actually happens to be the editor-in-chief of the Niche newspaper, will be having his 2026 annual lecture. I mean, the theme here I see is governing the economy, choices, trade-offs, and national priorities. The date for this event is April 23, 2026. You've always been here talking about governance. Now there's going to be a lecture. So in all of this lecture, what are we looking at specifically at the Niche 2026 annual lecture?
Well, Joe, quickly, because now we don't have time.
Yeah.
The Niche lecture, when we started the Niche in 2014, about 12 years ago, we wanted to create a new brand of journalism. The journalism that will be out there looking out for the people, and the journalism that will promote the best values that can make and sustain a democratic society. And 3 years down the road, in our quest to see how we can give back to the society, we set up the Niche Foundation for Development Journalism. That was, and we conceived the idea of annual lecture as our own kind of corporate social responsibility. Now, this year's lecture is going to be the 5th in the series. The first lecture was delivered by Professor Kingsley Mogalo, and the chairperson of the occasion was Professor Remy Shoneya, who, if you remember, was the presidential candidate of the COA party. The second lecture was delivered by Professor Anya Oanya, and the chairperson was late Dr. Christopher Kolade. Then the third lecture was delivered by Fashola when he was the Minister of Works and Housing. And the chairperson then was 95-year-old Alhaji, what is this man's name again? From Kano. Then the fourth one was delivered by Rotimi Amechi. And
this is the fifth.
This is the fifth.
Okay.
Alex Soti, the governor of Abia State, is going to deliver the lecture, and the chairman is the emir of Kano, Sanusi. And then the royal father of the day is the Obi of Anisha.
Lovely.
Abogidi. We want to talk about the economy because, like the President Bill Clinton said, it is the economy stupid. All these things that we're talking about.
You know what we're going to do? What we're going to do is we're going to have, since we have you next week again,
yes,
we'll also take time to highlight it, but we like the fact that our viewers are aware. April 23rd, we'll give you more updates here on Breakfast Central, especially when Mr. Kamichi returns next week. But we've had a fantastic show, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kamichi, for being here.
Again, we're extending another invite to Mr. Nafiu Bala. We hope that one day, he will answer us.
Will you not send an invite to also Mr. Don also, because what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
Bye, everyone.
Nafiu Bala.